Good morning, Judith.
Good morning, Sonya.
Welcome to the Coaches Cup. I'm Sonya Green from SonyaGreenCoaching.com.
And I am Judith Fender. I'm one of the coaches over at the No BS Weight Loss Program.
All right. And today we are talking about fear. Which is it's a little bit funny because when we started talking about planning February, we were like, we're going to do this love stuff, and then somehow or another we jumped right into fear.
Well, I
But
was. Wait a
go
minute,
ahead.
back up. What did happen there? How did we end up? What
I
happened?
am I am not sure. We derailed somewhere,
I was just like,
but
okay, okay.
I think this topic really is going to be important for self-love
Mm.
because facing your fear
Mm-hmm.
is a very loving task. So we'll talk about that. We promise, folks, we will bring this back around to love before it's over.
I can't wait.
Mental gymnastics. So we're going to start with a definition of fear, because emotions are sometimes hard to pin down. So we're going to start with kind of a definition, and the definition of fear is an unpleasant emotion caused by the belief that you are in danger or likely to be to be in pain.
Mm-hmm.
So it's caused from a belief. Want to talk about that, Judith?
Well, the belief would be that you are, like you just said, a belief is a thought. Just
Hmm.
so we come back. So it's thinking that something is going to go wrong, that you're going to be harmed, or that the problem is that again we have um, the human brain in a modern world. We have the caveman brain in the modern world. That there are no real fears in our life in our current modern day world. Like there, of course, is like driving your car, the fear of being in an accident or being hit by a train. Of course, you want to have the fear. But in general, like you and I were talking earlier, what was your question, Sonya? What's
The yeah, why I'm sorry, you're gonna have to go ahead. But why does fear affect us today?
hmm,
It's the fear of the fear of
the fear of the fear, right?
yeah.
And the story we tell ourselves that, the anticipation of the event is actually worse than the event itself because we all know we're not going to die when we get on the stage to speak. We all know with our rational brain, with our good thinking, like you will actually not get up there and die, but your brain is telling you before you get on the stage and you create this fear and the story feels like death. Who's
Yeah.
been there?
Yes, I will raise my hand twice. Um, yeah, and one of the things at one point, fear did serve a purpose. There was a time when there were more threats in our lives.
Mhm.
Um, when you could step out of your whatever your dwelling was, whether it was a cave or whatever, and you could encounter either some kind of enemy or some kind of animal.
Mhm.
Now when I step out of my house, the most dangerous thing I might encounter would be a wild turkey out in the front yard. I
Right. Or in my case, maybe yours too, a wild turkey or 50.
Yeah, 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 yeah. A stampede of wild turkeys.
Yes. Yeah.
That's possible.
Mm.
But, so today we have moved the fear element is still in our bodies, and it exists for a good purpose to, it causes that fight or flight response.
Mhm. Mhm.
Um, but now most of the time when we have it, like you mentioned, it's not it's not a legitimate fear.
Mhm.
And I say that having experienced some pretty they felt pretty legitimate in the moment,
Mhm.
but, it's not a real life or death situation for us most of the time.
Correct.
So we misplace that fear onto things that are really just more out of our comfort zones.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and the problem with that can be the panic.
Oh, yeah. Well, I was going to say there was this part that fight, flight, or freeze.
Yes.
And that freeze element, like I wanted to be sure we put that in there because that's the element of I consider with anxiety
Hmm.
that I've experienced the freeze element from just
Yes.
profound anxiety,
Yes. So
which
I'm going to tell a funny story on
Mhm.
myself about that. It's kind of a flight and freeze element. So I am terrified of snakes. It's
Mhm.
really one of the only, fears of natural beings that I can think of. I could be in a room of spiders or mice or whatever, but I despise snakes. And we had bought a house and it had an old building full of old furniture in
Mhm.
it. And it was when our son was still a baby, so he was on a blanket in the yard, and we were all as a family moving all of this furniture, trying to get it all out of the building to see what we had, what we wanted to keep. And so I picked up this old rocker and I carried it out and I set it down. And when I did, I don't even know how I saw it, but suddenly I knew there was a snake up under that cushion of the chair. And when I set it down and backed away from it, I saw it drop into the grass.
Ugh.
And I don't remember anything I said. I did get out the word snake. And remember, my family's all around me. The baby is on a blanket. And I am running in place, screaming out loud, get the baby, get the baby, get the baby. And they all are just cracking up. Like they are just watching me because I don't lose my cool ever.
Mhm.
I'm always in control. But in that moment, and they all thought I was telling them to get the baby. That's not what I was doing. I was trying to engage
Get
with
to
my
the baby.
brain
Yeah.
for
Mhm.
me to go over and pick up the baby so that the snake wouldn't get to the baby. And but my feet wouldn't move other than running in place.
Mhm.
That's what fear
Mhm.
and panic
Mhm.
can do to us.
Mhm.
And when it's something like, not a real fear, because a snake is a legitimate fear. But when we apply that to something like public speaking or, going for a degree or going for a job,
Mhm.
then yeah, we sit there and run in place and try to engage our brain with our body, but it's just not working. We're just running in place.
Right. Right. Wow, that's such a good story too, like that running in place, Sonia. I may have to borrow that one day.
Oh, my family still teases me mercilessly. Like I think that it was my gift to them because they've never seen me fall apart. They didn't know I had it in me.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's interesting. I'm trying to, I don't know what to contribute. We were talking earlier about what fear and my fear was similar. We had talked about public speaking, new job.
Mhm.
I might be experiencing on some level, that's the underlying fear, of course, is failure,
Absolutely.
the bottom line. But my good brain knows, of course, the worst thing I'm going to experience is the emotion, and it's okay. And we were talking about, allowing the fear to be there and to
Yeah.
walk towards the fear. And what that looks like is like welcoming it. It sounds crazy, but like knowing that this is how you're going to grow. This is how you make steps forward by embracing, knowing it's coming, and being that I want to say run two models, right? This
Yeah.
is where Brooke talks about the, allowing fear and peace,
Yes.
right? Like they come together. Like
Yeah.
there's fear is going to be there, but there's peace in knowing that you are going to be present for yourself. You're really not in danger. This is just a feeling that is happening because of your primitive brain is thinks there's something has gone wrong.
Yes. Yes. And so, yeah, having those two feelings at once, it really is possible to be at peace with knowing
Mhm.
that this is going to be a scary experience.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
this is a good moment, I think, to bring up the concept of courage,
Mm. Mhm.
because so many times I think we think that courage is the opposite of fear, but courage can't exist without fear.
Mhm. Mhm.
So they walk hand in hand, and courage is that acknowledgement that the fear is there, but we're going to move forward anyway.
Mhm. I'm sure this is probably a Brené Brown quote, courage is fear walking.
Yeah, that sounds
Right.
like something
I
that
mean,
she
it's
would
you're
say.
in motion, you're moving forward, you're allowing, you're processing, you're going through, and fear is with you
Yeah,
the whole time.
yeah. And that's why I think it's so important. So many times we try to bully ourselves out of fear.
Mm.
And, I mean, I've done this to myself. It's like, Sonya, this is ridiculous.
Right.
This is ridiculous. You are acting crazy. You know what? That's not really very effective.
Right, because you're dismissing your feelings. You're
Yeah.
dismissing yourself when it feels so true.
Yeah.
And in life, like when you dismiss your feelings, when all they really need is to have, can I say it, the compassionate moment with yourself,
Yes.
be very kind. And of course, you're feeling fear.
Yeah.
Of course, this is a little scary because your habit brain thinks this, and it's okay.
Yeah.
For
Yeah. And
sure.
I'll literally say that out loud to myself
Hmm. Hmm.
when I'm in a moment that I know that I don't, whether it's fear, whether it's to that level, or whether it's just something that I don't want to do. Instead of having that voice in my head that is ready to beat me up, I'm like, Sonia, it's normal. This is normal that you would feel this way. You are human. Like you said, just reassuring yourself compassionately.
The human experience,
Yeah.
we are guaranteed on this earth. And when you think of it as an experience, like I like that terminology because it helps like detach me from the emotion
Mhm.
and allows myself, is that right? I allow myself in that moment to see it just as that. This is just a human experience that's gone on for thousands of years in so many brains. This is not really unique. It feels unique,
Yeah.
but it's not. This is just my brain thinking it's keeping me alive.
Yeah. And what it does is it keeps us small.
Mm, it can.
It
Fear
can if we
unchecked.
allow it.
Right. Hmm.
Yeah. If we don't pick up the courage along with the fear, we need to pick them both up together. It's okay. I'm gonna be afraid of doing this. I'm gonna be afraid of stepping on stage in front of all these people and talking, but I'm gonna do it anyway.
Hmm.
And this is how I'm gonna grow. It's a hard sell in the moment sometimes. It is.
I agree.
Do I
I'm
need
right
to
there with
grow?
you.
I'm really good right where I'm at. I don't need to grow. But think about how much we miss out on when we don't accept the opportunities for growth,
Right.
when we
And
let fear win.
this is where, what is it? Courage to capability.
Yeah.
when you grow and then you see your capability, and then confidence comes from
Yes.
the capability when you go through the process of allowing yourself to experience the fear and peace at the same time, compassion,
Yeah.
and growth forward will be the result is confidence
Yeah.
through capable. I thought that was, yeah, I just love that.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think about those experiences in my life because public speaking when I was when I was in my early 20s, that was terrifying to me.
Mhm.
And it was
Mhm.
terrifying because I had some bad experiences. I had a fellowship opportunity to do graduate study in Europe, and I had to have an interview with a group of businessmen. And during when I sat down, it was a huge conference table of them, so it wasn't even public public speaking, but it was a bunch of men who I guess I felt they were judging me.
Mm.
Ultimately, that's where the fear came from. But
Mhm.
they pushed a pitcher of water and an empty glass toward me and told me to pour myself a glass of water, and I was so nervous that I spilled water all over myself.
Mhm.
I was just and then, it's not just fear, it's shame, it's humiliation, it's all of those feelings. And I'm sitting here with all of these men and a wet dress. I still remember it was a pink dress.
Aw.
And, I it took I will say I didn't just have one experience like that. I just had one experience where I spilled water on myself. After that, I don't care if I was dying in the desert. I never poured water again.
Oh, I thought you were gonna say, "I never spoke publicly again." I'm like, "Okay."
No, no. I mean, obviously now I had a student at the beginning of the semester when we were having a getting to know you session. He said, "So, is your husband the introvert in your family?" And I was like, "No, we both are." And he was like, "You're an introvert?" So, obviously, I have moved past that.
Mhm.
But honestly, there was about a 10-year period where I didn't go after the things that I really wanted. And I stayed small.
I okay. I can so relate to this in so many levels, and what is resonating with me right now is when is that because you didn't meet yourself with compassion, because you had all of these incredible feelings, and you were talking about going through the shame cycle and like experiencing all of that, probably relived it over and over, and we're like, no,
Absolutely.
no, 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 no. That had you had compassion and then the knowledge that pain is inevitable, but the suffering is optional. And that's the
Yes.
benefit of knowing this work and knowing that pain is coming, the fear is coming. You will experience this, the experience, and the suffering is optional based on your thinking. And this is where this is so empowering to know the tools, which takes me even that further step about, so much we hear the comparison about lifting the weights, getting your reps in, the
Yeah.
growth. In the moment, lifting weights can be painful, it can suck, but in the long run, you're growing your muscles,
Yeah.
making your life better, getting to your goals.
Yes. Not living small.
Mhm.
Yeah. I absolutely. I can't do anything except amen all of that because
Mhm.
that's what embracing fear looks like.
Mhm.
It looks like knowing it's going to be painful,
Mhm.
but doing it anyway because it's
Yeah.
going to be so worth it in the long run.
Mhm. Mhm.
Living small does not it just doesn't do anything for us. I mean, it doesn't keep us safe.
Yeah, we think we're safe in the cave.
Yeah.
Safe
It
in the cave,
it
which is what
keeps
you
us
did for what,
lonely.
10 years? 10 years, you were safe in the cave,
Yeah.
suffering,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
you
It keeps us
probably wanted to do other things.
yes. But I didn't want to experience the hurt.
Which
And
the fear of the hurt was worse than the hurt.
yes, that I'm so glad you said that because, when we acknowledge that something is gonna be painful, it's like cutting it in half. And that
Mm.
sounds crazy, but
Mhm.
when we walk into the fear, when we don't resist it, it it brings it down. It brings it down to a manageable level.
Mm. I love that. Even just watching you, say that, like bringing it down.
Yeah.
It's so true.
I
It's not a problem.
No, I've had some experiences, since we've been doing this work. There's been a few times where I have experienced a negative emotion and faced it and said, "Okay, I'm in for this. I'm going to feel it. I'm going to
Yeah.
experience it." And then I'm like, "Is that all there is? Is that it?"
Right.
And
Right.
I don't mean to diminish it, folks. I know that there's pain out there, but I think, Judith, what you said about the suffering being optional,
Mhm. Mhm.
that's the key to all of it. If
Mhm.
we sit in it and beat ourselves up and relive it,
Mhm.
we are suffering, and there is no need for that.
Mhm.
Just have some compassion. It's the human experience.
Mhm. And I'm trying to think of this tie-in with the client I have she's afraid of feeling the loneliness,
Yeah.
right? And trying to teach her and show her that it's really her thoughts about and what she's making it mean,
Mhm.
and that the experience of loneliness is really not all that bad.
Right.
That this fear, this story, with any emotion that we have, be it fear, loneliness, joy, even. Some people are afraid, don't want to experience joy, don't know how to experience joy.
Don't know how. That's one of their
Mhm.
upper limit problems.
But learning to master your feelings and
Mhm.
master the process, expect them all to come,
Yeah.
and allow space for the experience. That
Yeah.
but the suffering, where I was going, was the suffering that she's enduring. What it's costing her is gaining weight, over drinking, overeating. The buffering things. The suffering continues.
Yes. Yes. If you're yeah. And we make that choice. All of us have been in places in our lives where we have made that choice. I'm
Yep.
going to buffer.
Yep.
I'm just gonna make it feel better by eating or drinking or shopping or, whatever your buffer of choice is. And if you would just face it,
Hmm.
just take a minute and say, why am I feeling this? What's really going on?
Mm.
And what do I want? How is it keeping me from my goals?
I don't know where I'm going with this, but I'm thinking about, like moving towards the pain releases suffering,
Mm,
right? So if we're moving towards, I think about women in childbirth, like who among us who's had a child has, there's the fear, what's this going to be like? Da 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 da.
yeah.
But we know for 9 months, or maybe even, I mean, for sure, we are moving towards like, but we're also experiencing the joy, the
You're right.
love, like what, like all of these emotions that get us to that moment to feel the pain,
Mhm.
process it, and move on.
Yeah, and the beauty of childbirth is we don't have a choice, right?
Woo!
Wait,
True
I
that.
remember my son and daughter are 20 months apart, and I remember getting to about month 8 with my daughter and going, no,
Uh,
I'm not really up for this again.
yeah,
Can I take a step back? And you can't. You don't
yeah,
have that choice. And
right.
of course, after and she was all natural. She was coming in her own time, so there was no epidural, there was nothing.
Mhm,
But, it didn't in the end, I faced it, I had a baby, and I forgot it.
mhm,
We
mhm.
don't beat ourselves up for that pain. That's
Right?
acceptable. We have normalized that pain.
Right. But
So
I do remember like that, thinking that for the longest time until like I had C-sections on both, but the second one I for sure was going like, yeah, I want the C-section because I don't know what to expect on that other one. But
yeah, it it's just if we didn't have a choice
mhm.
and we could keep pushing ourselves forward past the fear, our abilities are just limitless.
Yeah. And that's even mind-blowing when I think about that because I think, well, what do I want? What's next?
Yeah.
What fear do I have?
And sometimes we'll fear that too. Well, where do I go now?
Yeah. I'm always open to the possibilities.
That's right.
Willing to go there.
There's no sense in panicking. You just
Mhm.
pick up your courage, pick up your willingness to do some hard work, some more reps,
Mhm.
add
Mhm.
10 more pounds to your weights
Yeah. Get
and go
your
toward it.
what was it? Courage, capability. You got fear, courage, capability, confidence.
Yeah.
Sandwich that in. Know that in the end, it's going to be all worth it.
Yeah. I mean, I look back at that experience almost 30 years ago, and it took some time to move past it, especially after I burrowed down, in my little cave and stayed safe for a while. There were a lot of moments where I had that shaky voice when I got up to speak.
Mhm. Same. Yeah.
But honestly, at this point in my life, that is no longer, I mean, there might be a slight feeling of anxiety if I go to speak before a large audience that I haven't talked to before, but
Mhm.
it's very minor. I'm
Mm.
like, "Yeah, we've done this. We can do this." And it's because I have collected so many wins
Mm.
that
Yeah.
now I have the confidence. I'm capable of this.
Yeah.
But you can't collect those wins. You can never get to confidence if you don't go through
Mhm.
the fear.
And even then, as we're saying this, I'm thinking about of things that I have faced. What we're not doing is also like the to not the brain will still offer new thoughts even
Oh,
after
sure.
you faced your fear. There you will hear the chatter that goes on then. You just think you're scared of talking. Well, you
Yeah.
conquer your fear and then you get to hear the chatter, what's going on in the brain.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
And you can say, "Hey, brain,
Yeah.
it's all good. We've
It's
got this." What were you gonna say?
oh, we'll save that after.
Okay. All right. So that's what we've got on fear. The fear of failure is one of those that is crippling. And so if if you are listening to us and you have been fearing failure, start by collecting some
Mhm.
small wins.
Mhm.
Make a list of things that you want to do and what are some wins that you can get under your belt right away.
Mhm.
What are some things that you can check off that list? You may have to pick up your courage to go and do it, but you can do it and say, "Hey, I managed this.
Mhm.
Of course, I felt some fear, but that's okay. That was my experience."
Mhm. Your experience.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think you're right. I think that experience word is really that has grown in our culture,
Mhm.
and is much more meaningful. You hear about people who instead of giving gifts for Christmas, they
Oh,
give
I'm all about the
experiences.
experience.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mexico, that's on my I don't want things anymore, I want experiences.
Yeah. Yeah. So gift yourself with the experience of feeling your fear, understanding it's just your experience. You get to have it. It's a
Mhm.
gift you're going to give yourself to
Mhm.
becoming the person you really want to be.
Mhm. I love that so much.
All right. Well, if you are listening to us today and you are interested in coaching, then you can certainly look us up. We both provide one on one coaching as well. I through SonyaGreenCoaching.com. And Judith?
Again, I'm one of the coaches for the No BS weight loss program. And right now, if you are not already a member of the program, you can take the free course. It's at www.nobsfreecourse.com, and you can work your way through there.
That's right. Sign up for some, once you're in the tribe, sign up for some coaching.
Right.
All right. Well, we will see you next week when we will talk about that feeling that goes hand in hand with fear, and that's being worthy.
Good stuff.
All right. Now, I did promise it would go to self-love, and we didn't connect it back. But I hope that you've seen that all
Oh,
this
yeah.
is
Wrap it up.
self-love.
Come
Yeah.
on, Sonya.
Yeah, I forgot to put my bow on top. But all of this is self-love. Growing and losing your fear of failure is the biggest gift you can give yourself. All right. Now it's wrapped up.
But bump.
We'll see you next week.
Bye.